Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Bill is off tonight. Law enforcement in Green Bay and in Appleton both rushing to hospitals in their cities, only to find out it was a false alarm. The large police responses to those calls, though, drawing a lot of community attention this afternoon. Emily Byer joining us now live in Appleton after officers talked about the investigation in an unfounded threat. Emily.
Cami, just this afternoon, it was a very different scene. We could see several squad cars surrounding the hospital here. Officials working fast to determine that this was a false report. No one was hurt. Officials right now working to find a possible suspect or suspects and a motive. Authorities say a call came into the hospital around 12:30 today. That caller, according to police, said they were in the parking lot of the hospital here with an AR-15 and they were going to cause harm. Officers were also made aware that other hospital facilities across the state were getting similar calls, including Aurora Baycare in the Green Bay area. Several jurisdictions responded, bringing in a lot of resources to help secure the premises at ThedaCare Regional Medical Center Appleton. Once on scene, authorities did not find anyone suspicious, and the threat was found not to be credible, saying this was in fact a false report. Officials stressing false reports like this can have a big impact on the community just by pulling their resources, because understandably they take all threats seriously.
Our officers responded within minutes of this happening. We had officers in this immediate area prior to the call coming out, so the response time was very fast, and the ability for our partners, special thanks to all of our partners, law enforcement partners from the Outagamie County Sheriff's Office, State Patrol, and Grand Chute. Many other jurisdictions arrived here very quickly to help us make sure that we could secure over 40 different entrances to the facility.
And now the investigation is ongoing. I do want to walk you through those possible consequences. There are a couple layers to this. Depending on what the investigation finds, a false report could lead to hefty fines, possibly a disorderly conduct charge. And if this is found through the investigation to be connected to swatting, that ups it, making it a Class I felony, which would come with some jail time. Cami.